Pearl Harbor was a great gamble for Japan, and especially for the Imperial Japanese Navy. It was also a piece of skilled military planning, the work of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. Japan dispatched all 6 of his precious fleet carriers across 3,000 miles of open ocean in total secrecy, with the fleet arriving a few hundred miles north of the Hawaiian Islands. The carriers launched their aircraft early on a Sunday morning. U.S. forces were completely unprepared, and in less than 90 minutes, Japanese planes destroyed or damaged 19 U.S. warships and 300 aircraft, and killed over 2,400 U.S. servicemen. Almost half of the dead were crewmen from the battleship USS Arizona, which sank within minutes after a bomb struck its forward magazine, igniting more than 1 million pounds of ammunition. The ship's remains still lie in the waters of Pearl Harbor, a constant memorial to that terrible morning. With the U.S. Navy temporarily out of the way, a massive Japanese offensive overran the European and colonial empires in Asia, Hong Kong, Malaya, the Dutch East EI, New Guinea. U.S. possessions too came under attack: the Philippines, the major U.S. base in Asia, Guam, and Wake Island. The Japanese assault seemed irresistible, and at 2 places there were mass surrenders. At Singapore on the tip of Malaya, 80,000 British, Indian, and Australian troops went into captivity in February 1942. On the Philippines, attacking Japanese forces outmaneuvered a combined U.S.-Filipino army under General Douglas MacArthur. The defenders retreated into the Bataan Peninsula and finally onto tiny Corregidor Island. MacArthur evacuated the islands, vowing, however, "I shall return." But his entire force of 75,000 men surrendered in April 1942, the worst military defeat in U.S. history. Their Japanese captors now subjected them to a brutal 65-mile forced march to POW camps in the Philippines, hence the infamous Bataan Death March. In the course of just 5 days, at least 5,000 died, and perhaps many more, a grisly sign of what was to come in what the Japanese called the Great Pacific War. Victory, defeat, shame, infamy. Even today, the memory of these events is contradictory and contested. Different societies tend to remember events in their history differently, and that is especially true of traumatic moments. Japan and the United States have been friends and allies for decades, a welcome change from the 1930s and 40s. Nevertheless, the lessons, legacies, and memory of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor will continue to influence contemporary politics, diplomacy, and strategy into the future.